So we are to the finish line of shows going into AEW All Out, wrapping up here with Rampage. Uh, Basically, on Rampage, we had two matches that tie in to the show of All Out, but we also had the one match that's kicked off the show that actually is pushing towards a match on Dynamite next week. So we already have a match set up for Dynamite, and we have a match set up for Rampage next week as well. That was announced later on. All in all, for the go home, it was pretty good, and it ended kind of how you would hope it would, with a stare down between Darby Allin and CM Punk. So that ties right in. And overall, this show flew by.
Yeah, that's used to be like the universal reviews for Rampage. Like, it's a fun, easy, quick watch, and it's just, I don't know, it's been good every time so far. It's fun and it's easy. This is what wrestling is supposed to be.
Yeah,
Fun.
I was running around all day yesterday, dealing with network issues at the school that I work for. In the course of the day, just going around to various pieces of networking equipment, I walked over 6 miles. So by the time 10 o'clock rolled around last night, I'm like, I'm going to bed. Forget this. I will watch it in the morning. So I managed to I could zip through commercials and whatnot. So, I mean, it is a super fast watch when you're not watching it live. And it is fast when you are watching it live. And actually, this week's Dynamite was really quick when I watched it live. So, I guess that comes with the show being engaging. So you're not bored out of your mind while you're watching it. And then it just flies by.
Yeah, isn't it weird how a good show is like easier and more fun to watch than bad shows?
I know, you go figure,
It's
right?
fun.
All right, so before we get into this review of Rampage, you are listening to the That's Wrestling podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on Twitch and on YouTube. You can follow the links in the show notes for those channels. You can also come hang out in our Discord. The link is in the show notes for that as well. You can follow us on Twitter at That's Wrestling 1 with the number 1, so you can get a hold of us there. And also you could send me email if you want, Eric at that'swrestling.com. Comments, question, feedback, all that good stuff is welcome, and drop a review on your favorite podcast app of choice. And with me tonight, I have Trae once again with me, and you can follow him at Wrestleism on the Twitter.
Hi, it's me, Trae.
How is the weather where you are? Because we are finally out of the crazy hot weather. Like, summer suddenly stopped where I am.
Yeah, it's we had we had a fair bit of rain last week, and it's kind of cooled off, but like it's Houston, so it's still like humid and gross, but it's all right. Have you been in the zone of that really bad weather in the Northeast?
Yeah, the hurricane went right over us.
Damn.
And then the hurricane prior to that went right over us as well. But it was just since I live 70 miles as the crow flies from the nearest coast, but most of it comes from the south. So the one that went straight up from the south, I'm about 100 miles from the ocean. And when it's going through Massachusetts and whatnot, there's plenty of mountainous area, so it slows down pretty much. So we usually don't get crazy stuff. The only hurricane that has done any serious damage through my area was in 1938. So we're okay on that. But we get tons and tons of rain. Yes, we were probably due for one, yeah. But mostly we usually get the remnants and just a crap ton of rain. So, but we've had so much rain this year. The hiking path that I usually use, I need to start carrying a shovel so I can dig little ditches to drain off some of these puddles that usually are gone by the beginning of July. They have not disappeared all year, and they've just gotten bigger.
Yeah, so I did not live in Houston during Harvey, I lived about 90 miles inland. Like, so there hasn't been a bad like hurricane hit Houston since I have been here. But luckily, I have the privilege of if a hurricane is coming, I can get in my car and go to Arkansas and stay with family until it blows over. So I
Yeah, and
don't.
I'm also I'm not even anywhere near a flood zone. I'm up high. I'm about 500 feet below, above the like the valley floor that I'm attached to. So I pretty much will never get my house will never get flooded. The road might get washed out at the bottom of the road, but for the most part, wind and water is about the only thing. But I'm not really too worried about either. Just where I'm particularly located.
Was it our show where I looked up what my elevation was and it was like, I don't know, 13 feet or some shit?
Yeah, and I'm at about 1,000 feet above sea level where I am.
Anyway, Rampage!
Rampage! All right, so let's get into it. We kicked off the show with Malakai Black facing Lee Johnson. And this match I thought was pretty fun because it was mostly just Malakai Black being... He was channeling his inner Okada on just being completely nonchalant about the whole thing until near the end where he started getting a little frustrated. And then he just killed Lee Johnson.
This match was very, very good and very, it told the story it needed to tell.
Yeah, so I did not know Lee Johnson was like 14-4 for 2001, which I thought he would have a much worse record than that, but I guess not.
Yeah.
All over on Dark.
Hey, man, it's the one thing that I really like that I didn't, like I hadn't really thought about before AEW started, but I like it resets every year thing because you've got, your guys like Lee Johnson was, a job guy for months and months. But actually, the losing end of the shortest Dynamite match in history, that 6-second armbar to MJF. Or like Will Hobbs. Like, does anybody but me remember that, like, when Hobbs was still just a dark jobber that he lost to Orange Cassidy in like 6 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Lee Johnson he has moved up in the world. He went from guy who loses on Dark to guy who wins on Dark and loses on Dynamite.
Yep. So they're standing off on opposite corners, and then Black just starts slowly walking across the ring towards Lee Johnson, and Lee tries to sidestep one way, and Black follows it, and then he steps the other way, and Black follows it. Lee tries to out wrestle Malakai Black and makes very little headway. Black hits a bunch of strikes and stomps. He works a few submissions, jumping knee strike. Johnson tries to suplex out of a headlock, and Black keeps it on when they hit the ground. Lee flips out of a suplex attempt and pushes Black headfirst into the turnbuckle, and then Lee hits a few strikes, hits Black with a drop kick and then a tope, and then just hits some mounted strikes on the floor on the outside. Then he hits a frog splash back inside, but he doesn't go for the cover. He wants to hit something else, but that was the wrong decision as Black turns it around right here, hits a massive penalty kick, hits a running boot in the corner, tons of strikes in the corner, and then Black rolls out and grabs a chair from under the ring, and he stands over Johnson's body with the chair, and then he kicks it over to Lee, and he says something along the lines of, "Do you want to win or do you want revenge? Pick up that chair and hit me." So Black stands up and he turns around, and Lee slowly makes his way to his feet, but then Black hits him with the spinning heel kick before he can actually do anything, and he pins Lee Johnson for the victory.
Yeah. This is great. Like the way that they did this, like clearly Lee Johnson was in over his head and a little scared about it, concerned about it. I like that, and everybody's sick of WWE comparisons, but one of the things that I love about AEW is that baby faces are allowed to show vulnerability because the people on the show are actual human beings who interact the way that people interact. It's like it's in the other place, either you are a complete comedy geek who gets beat to powder and it doesn't matter, or you are a top guy and you never show any vulnerability.
Yeah, and then we had post-match, we had Dustin Rhodes. He makes his way down to the ring, and he jumps in, grabs the chair, but Black gets out of the other side of the ring, and he just slowly walks around the ring back towards the ramp while jaw-jacking with Dustin and pointing at him and all that fun stuff. So, yeah. Fun right there?
Yeah. I think it was probably like the excitement, but they said we're gonna hear from Dustin Rhodes, and I got excited because every Dustin Rhodes promo is fucking great.
Yep. So after the commercial break, they come back, and Mark Henry is with Dustin. He asks how he feels, and he says, "Black, you've been about one thing since you got here, and that's the element of surprise. Well, this week on Dynamite, you're gonna see me coming. I know that you come from a dark place, but I thrive in darkness. I've been dealing with darkness for 5 decades, so you can't do anything to me that hasn't already been done to me before. On Dynamite, you'll find out what the natural is all about."
Great promo. Dustin, don't miss.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that match on Dynamite next week, where I suspect it's gonna end up a bad night for Dustin, but it's gonna be fucking awesome.
I'm curious if this is when Cody comes back.
Don't think so. I think they just started.
Are they still filming?
Yeah, he posted like a picture on Twitter that he had. It indicated, I thought I read it as he has just recently started recording that show.
Got it. All right, so then we go on to another excellent promo, because both of these guys are amazing, and that is Miro. He walks down to the ring.
Yeah.
He grabs a mic and says, "Eddie Kingston, you call yourself a mad king, but I only recognize one king, or the only king I recognize is mad at you. You've been blessed your life with struggle, and yet you took the easy way out. He gave you all the toughness, the heart, the loud mouth of yours, and yet you took a charity contract into AEW, and I'm not in the charity business, and neither is my God. You have to understand that life without struggle, you become soft. You, Eddie, become comfortable. You, Eddie, have become nothing but a bad boy for Jon Moxley." Miro is so good.
I had noticed that. I wonder if that's going to come around again, because Miro put Jon Moxley's name in his mouth.
Yes.
That might lead to something. I hope it leads to something.
So Eddie's music hits. He comes out, and of course, he's also an amazing promo. He tells him to cut the music, and everybody's chanting for him. So he's like, "All right, everybody calm down. I have some business I got to take care of." And then he says, "God's favorite champion? Bullshit. You're not God. Your God's not real to me, so I don't care what you say. But let's say that your God is real. Let's just say that he is. Your God sent me here to punish you because you're the sinner. You're the one who's wrong. If you didn't sin, your ugly ass God wouldn't have brought me here. Your God is stupid." Yeah, I said it. Your stupid god would not let me know the chink in your armor. Every move I do, the exploder, the Saito, the stretch plum, and the wonderful DDT is your weakness. And Miro says, you want to talk about weakness when you're talking from so far away? If you take one step closer, you're going to get the Redeemer tonight. So Eddie says, Redeemer? Redeem these nuts. And then he runs into the ring, and Miro bails out of the back, and he's starting to walk away towards the ramp, but he's kind of playing towards the hard camera side. So Kingston gets out of the ring on the ramp side, and he charges at Miro, but Miro whacks him in the face with the belt. He throws Eddie into the ring, and he lays the belt over his face and then he goes to stomp the belt into Eddie's face, but Eddie moves. Eddie gets up, hits a back fist, and then drops Miro on his head with a DDT, and Miro is laid out, and he is slow to get back up when he finally does.
This was awesome. They already have a Redeem These Nuts shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. Somebody tweeted and I popped for it. Didn't realize that at All Out we were finally going to settle the beef between Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy, but here we are. So yeah, this is if I ever go back to teaching, I'm going to have to rework my history of Christianity lesson.
I just pulled up a Redeem These Nuts t-shirt. It is great. That's the best thing about them working with Pro Wrestling Tees. Like, their shirts are like ready to go in like an hour after something good happens. So that's always good.
Awesome. Yes.
All right, so we move on to Jamie Hayter and Rebel versus Kris Statlander in a handicap match. This match was put together by Britt Baker using her favor from Tony Khan after she signed another long-term contract last week to stay with AEW. So we start off the match. Jamie and Statlander just push each other around for a bit in a collar and elbow tie-up. Rebel grabs onto Statlander from the outside so Jamie can get some shots in. And then Rebel and Jamie tag in and out, hitting some stomps and some strikes. Rebel hits a release suplex for a 2 count. And then Rebel tries some kicks, but this just pisses Statlander off. And she fires up and she gets up. She drops Rebel with a suplex. Jamie runs in, so Statlander drops Jamie onto Rebel and then beats up both of them, hits a senton on both of them, and then they set it up. So she throws Jamie into Rebel, and Jamie grabs onto Rebel's shoulder with her arm, and when she knocks down Jamie ends up giving Rebel a flatliner. Which I thought was pretty funny. Statlander then picks up Rebel on her shoulders. And then Jamie comes in with a crossbody, but she just catches her. So she has Rebel up on her shoulders, sitting on her shoulders. And then Jamie in front of her. She just does a slam straight down with both of them. And then she hits Rebel with a kick and then submits Rebel with a spider crab. That's what Excalibur called it.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Rebel is really good at being a bad wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Like it. She's just perfect for what she's supposed to be. And this Jamie Hayter gal, pretty awesome. Like,
she is the same size as Kris Statlander.
Yeah,
I thought Jamie was shorter than that, but no, she was pretty much the same height as Statlander.
Yeah, that's after Kris has her title match. That's a singles match that I'm looking forward to.
Statlander and Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this was pretty good, and Statlander showing that she is super strong by holding Rebel and Jamie at the same time. And as you said, Rebel is a great wrestler who looks like she can't wrestle, which is perfect for the role. Even though I don't know if people know that Rebel knows how to wrestle and she's being a bad wrestler on purpose. It seems like some people don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's not a good wrestler. Like, I saw her in Impact years ago. She is not, like, she's not Chigusa Nagayo or Lion Sasuke. She's a cheerleader. Like, she's an athletic woman who has done some. She's a manager, and she wrestles the way a wrestling manager is supposed to wrestle. You know, like, fucking Jim Cornette was not a wrestler, but he was perfect at wrestling like a manager when it comes. Because eventually, the whole thing with the heel manager is eventually they need to get what they have coming, and so yeah. Rebel is not a good wrestler, but she is a good bad wrestler.
Yes. And then after the match was over, Britt and Jamie jump up onto the apron. But before they get in to attack Kris Statlander, Red Velvet runs down to prevent the attack from happening. So we don't get the pre-match beatdown of Kris Statlander after having to do a 2-on-1 handicap match 2 days before her title match.
It would be a hell of a thing to do a pre-match beatdown after the match, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, pre-match for pre-title match 2 days from now.
There we go.
Then they run down the all-out card. If you are not up to date, we have the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros for the tag titles in a cage. We have Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World title. We have Eddie Kingston versus Miro for the TNT Championship. Kris Statlander versus Britt Baker for the women's title. And then we have the women's casino battle royale that currently in it is Jamie Hayter, Kylan King, Kiera Hogan, Julia Hart, Big Swole, Riho, Lila Hirsch, Abaddon, Penelope Ford, Diamante, Rebel, Emi Sakura, Bunny, Anna Jay, Thunder Rosa, Nyla Rose, Hikaru Shida, Jade Cargill, Red Velvet, Ty Conti. That is 20. So there was only one non-announced person, and I mean, can it really be anybody other than Ruby?
I don't think it can be anybody. It's gotta be. And dude, like, those fucking videos are so great. Like, actually, like, I am more interested in her after seeing those videos than I was of seeing her, like, wrestle for years in WWE. And, like, I'd never listened to Rancid before, but, like, that song is fucking good and catchy as fuck.
Have you never heard the Ruby Soho song before?
Well, I have now. I had not before.
Really? It's like one of the most popular songs that Rancid ever done. I had heard the song before, and that's kind of funny.
I probably heard it at some point in my life, and it didn't register, but now I know it. Now it's on my Spotify playlist now.
Yeah, I like the one where she stole the car in front of the gas station. The guy who came out looked just like ELP. And I went down in the comments. I was not the only one, because somebody's like, why did you steal ELP's car? Even though it wasn't ELP, because he had tattoos on his arm and ELP does not. So, he's in Japan.
Be funny if she had a loaded boot that she found in the trunk and started knocking people out with it.
Then we also have QT Marshall versus Paul White, John Moxley versus Satoshi Kojima, and MJF versus Jericho with Jericho's career on the line. And then over on the buy-in, we've have Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus versus Matt Hardy, and Helico, Jack Evans, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. And then the big one, I mean, where does this go on? Where in the show does CM Punk versus Darby Allin happen? Does it happen right before the world title match? Does it happen first on the main card? Where does that happen?
I think you put it on first. Just because you don't want to put that on. Like, I don't think it should go on last. I think either two things would be okay going on last: the Christian Omega match, and just depending on whatever they're doing, it's going to be based on whatever they've got that's going to happen at the end, which I think we all suspect will be the debut of Bryan Danielson, wherever that fits into the show. I think just like if you were judging on what match you think nothing will be able to follow, I think you put the Bucks and Lucha Bros in the cage on last.
That's what I think too. I think Lucha Bros in the cage last, Christian Omega before that. So I think if you put CM Punk on first with Darby Allin, and then, I mean, there are some matches in here, I'm not sure which way you would go. I think after Punk and Darby Allin, if you put on Moxley Kojima, I think they could keep the crowd with it. And then you could coast through the, you could get quickly with QT and Paul White, and then go MJF, Jericho, and then basically all the title matches one after the other.
I would switch the order of Moxley and Kojima and White and QT, but yeah.
True. Actually, yeah, you could do CM Punk, Darby Allin, then squash QT with Paul White, and then do Moxley, Kojima, MJF, Jericho, and then do women's title, TNT title, world title, tag titles. I think that would work.
This is such a freaking loaded show. So they are also going to be offering the show on iPay-per-view through the Fight app. And if you're in the US, the price is $50. But if you already use a VPN to watch AEW on Fight anyway, I'm just going to tell you to turn your VPN on before you go in to buy the pay-per-view.
Yes. It is $20 when you are not in the US.
I wasn't going to say it, but yes.
All right. They also announced that on Dynamite, which we've already talked about, Black versus Dustin Rhodes. And then also on Rampage, we have Pac versus Andrade. That was supposed to happen on All Out, but there's some travel problems getting in and out of the UK once again, between the US and the UK. Not specifically the UK to other places. I'm curious if he had to go to a safe place and bounce over to the US.
Yeah, I wondered if, I don't know if it was an issue because of the weather, in the East Coast and the Atlantic, but Meltzer implied that it might be similar to the Sasha Banks situation on the other place. But if they are confident enough to announce that the match is going to happen next week on Rampage, which means we tape on Wednesday because they're taping again, I think it was probably just travel issues.
Yeah. So we have that. So during, I moved some of the stuff out of order during the rundown of the card of All Out, and when they went to the MJF Jericho thing, when they went to, when they were talking Moxley and Kojima, they showed clips from a press conference earlier in the day, and Moxley just throws over the table and they start brawling.
Yeah, Satoshi Kojima will fight a motherfucker. Do not doubt that.
And then we have, once again, we have the split screen that happens every time before the main event in Rampage so far. This is Mark Henry with a split screen with 2.0 and Garcia on one side, Sting and Darby Allin on the other. He says, hey, 2.0 and Danny Garcia, you've been opportunists since you've come to AEW. Parker says, since we walked into Chicago, I've seen nothing but CM Punk and Darby Allin all over billboards and shirts, and it makes me sick. And then Lee says, the real question is, what happens Sunday when Darby can't make it to the ring, when our son, Daniel Garcia, breaks his back tonight? Which is a really funny gimmick that they're doing now.
Yes, they said it on I think Dynamite too. So I love that he's just their son now, and nobody questions it.
Garcia says in his nonchalant monotone, if you really want to know why I want to prevent this match, it's because I can. And then Mark asks Darby if he can stay focused with CM Punk up at the announce table. And Darby says, I'm not overlooking Garcia tonight. I'm looking right at him, and I'm going to drop him on his ass. And then I'll go up the ramp and look CM Punk face to face one last time before All Out. Pretty good?
I am just looking at 2.0. Fucking, they had these guys and they were job guys on NXT. Like, what? These guys are so freaking great, and they have this trio of dudes, you know, two of whom were jobbers in the developmental league of the other company like 2 months ago, and they're this fucking great trio that are like feuding with some of the top guys in AEW, and they're great.
Davis in the chat is asking, with Darby Allin and Punk, who's the heel? And I say neither. It's going to be a face-face, and if anybody can pull off a face-face match, it's these two.
Yeah, I think people get too hung up on heels and baby faces. I think it's like, not that it's just completely irrelevant anymore, but it's not as important as, I don't know. I think it's going to work out really well.
Yeah, I mean, when we watch like the G1 and whatnot, we see tons of face and heel matches, and
right.
You can do them right all the time.
Yeah, I love that, because like that was something that like always bothered me about, like, especially WWF and WCW. It's like in kayfabe, why does just the roster divided into two halves and they like the halves only fight each other? Like, it's there's good guys and bad guys, and they only fight each other. Like, to me, that's I'm going to use the word fake. That if pro wrestling is meant to be, it is a stage show portraying a fictional sport. Okay? So if I am watching, and in my mind, this is a professional sports league, like, everybody should be eligible to fight everybody. And that's one of the things I've always loved about New Japan, and one of the things that I've always loved about AEW, that they don't.
The separation seems contrived.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Let's just leave it at
that. Jay says, does Garcia have a death wish with his upcoming matches?
Dude. He's fighting Minoru Suzuki, and that's just all I've been thinking about. Need it.
When is that happening?
It's sometime in late September. I think that's for like West Coast Pro Wrestling or something.
Okay. So we have the match of Darby Allin versus Daniel Garcia. Darby gives Punk a little stare while he's making his way out to the ring, as CM Punk has went over to the commentary. Actually, I gotta go back a little. When CM Punk came out, he walked down the ramp to give everybody high fives around the ring, and he did a stage dive, and he came up a little short and just like burned his balls right into the barricade. And he had to climb over the barricade into the crowd. Did you notice that?
I did not. I also did not notice live, but I've seen the gif a million times that a fan got caught up in the moment and offered CM Punk his beer.
Yeah, that's funny. Anyway, so Darby Allin and CM Punk have a little bit of stare when Darby's making his way down to the ring. They start off the 2.0, and Daniel Garcia get the jobber entrance, at least on TV they did. Darby Allin and Garcia, they lock up and push each other a little bit. They slap each other a little bit. Then they fight on the outside, and Darby runs at Garcia. Garcia moves out of the way, and Darby Allin goes back first into the edge of the timekeeper's table, goes over the timekeeper's table, and smacks his head on the concrete on the way down.
Yeah, bad time.
He gets thrown into the ring stairs by Garcia as well, and 2.0 tried to get involved, but Sting is just brawling with them on the outside, keeping them out of it. And Excalibur and everybody on commentary is I think Sting just beat up 2.0 because it was off the side. They barely saw it on the screen once in a while the rest of the match was going on.
Sting was just casually beating up 2.0 the whole match.
Back in the ring, Darby starts to work on Garcia's arm. He drags Garcia to the outside. He slams the arm into the ring stairs. Back in the ring, they exchange a bunch of holds. Darby goes up top, but Garcia follows, hits a superplex for a 2. Garcia hits a drop kick to the back of the head for a 2 count, and Darby, back on the outside, gets thrown into the barricade, and Garcia starts to take his eyes off of Darby Allin and turns his attention towards CM Punk. He's yelling at him from the bottom of the ramp towards the announce table, and takes his eyes off of it, but he goes back to work with Darby with some strikes and some chops. They have a striking exchange until Garcia drops Darby, and Darby gets caught in a rear naked choke. Darby then carries Garcia on his back with the rear naked choke, and he climbs up the ring or up the corner and just drops backwards with him. They keep going. What was this here? He's going for... I don't know. Oh, whatever. He carries him up, drops him backwards, back to exchanging strikes, and then Darby hits the Pepsi twist. Yes. And then Darby eats a few uppercuts. Darby hits a code red for a 2 count, and then he puts it... I forget what he calls this move, but it's the cross-legged clutch that he does. And
the Last Supper.
The Last Supper. There you go. He puts on the Last Supper and gets the pin. So Darby Allin picks up the win here. And then we have 2.0. They start beating up on Darby. So Punk makes his way down to the ring. 2.0 start backing away from him down the side of the ring on the hard camera side. And Darby just comes flying out of nowhere with a massive dive, taking out both a 2.0, and then he gets right up in Punk's face, and they go off the air.
That ruled. That was great. Darby, the thing that I love about Darby, and I talk about it often, but he does the best dives in all of wrestling, because he is the only, everybody else that does dives looks like a pro wrestler doing a dive. Darby Allin looks like a crazy motherfucker that is using his body as a projectile in a fight.
Yes, and he's rarely going head first. He usually throws his back into it, and it's like going back first towards somebody.
Yeah.
That's probably how he can get away with some of the high speed that he does, because he's probably not going to bonk his head or break his neck doing it. He's just going to slam his back into the barricade if somebody misses him.
Yeah.
But overall, good Rampage. Quick watch, we've already mentioned. There's really not a whole lot more to say. They ended with Darby and Punk staring down each other, so that's where we go. And then we have All Out tomorrow night.
Indeed, we do.
Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up here? Actually, I need to get some of your thoughts on these matches. We haven't talked about finishes for the matches with you. I talked about with Daryl on Thursday, but let's get your thoughts here. Young Bucks and Lucha Bros. Who wins this one?
It feels like time. I think the Lucha Bros are going to take it.
That is where I'm going as well. Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega. I'm saying Kenny holds this one.
I believe so.
Eddie Kingston and Miro for the TNT Championship.
This is like the match that, even with like 2 New Japan Stadium shows, this is the match that I'm most into for this weekend. This is gonna rule, and expect Miro to win. Game over. Referee stop.
Britt Baker and Kris Statlander. Britt's probably retaining.
Yeah.
The winner of the Casino Battle Royale. Who do you think that is going to be?
I don't know. Like, there's like a lot of people that I would want to win that it doesn't seem like it's the right time for them to wrestle Britt. So I don't know.
I have to agree with the same thing. Like, I think I narrowed it down to Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida, but it doesn't seem like time for either of them. Well, Shida hasn't had her rematch yet, so I guess you could go that way. But yeah. I want Thunder Rosa held off because I want Thunder Rosa to win the title off of Britt. So I don't think now is the time to take the title off of Britt until like Revolution in the spring. Or winter.
I think that she's the one to take the title, but I do think that it's not time for that match yet.
Yeah.
The person that I want to be the one who takes the title when it's time is Tay Conti, and actually, like, she's really popular and a great baby face. She could win this battle royal and then lose a match to Britt now and come back later.
Yeah, I mean, she did lose a match near the end of Shida's run. She hasn't had the match with Britt yet, so yeah, she could do that. I guess it depends how they all want to play it out. Paul White versus QT. I think this is pretty well spoken for. QT is obviously. I mean,
I think QT will win a grueling 45-minute. No, it's going to be a choke slam in 4 minutes. It's going to be great.
Moxley versus Kojima. John Moxley's taking this one, I'm guessing.
I believe so. Don't sleep on this match. Satoshi Kojima is like still like, of all the New Japan dads, like, he is the one that has the most left as far as being like he still has great matches pretty regularly.
Yes.
Like, anytime he has not missed, like, when he has been in a big match situation. So I suspect this is going to be very good.
Best Friends Jurassic Express versus Hardy Family Office on the pre-show. I'm going with the baby faces. They're just going to win this because it's a pre-show match.
Yeah.
MJF versus Jericho. Jericho's career on the line. I don't see Jericho losing this one.
Nah, Jericho's gonna win.
And then CM Punk versus Darby Allin. I don't know how you don't put CM Punk over on his first match.
I've heard arguments, and I think they're all wrong, and there's no way you beat Punk in this match.
Given our history, we're probably 50% on all this. We're really bad at predicting the outcomes of a lot of these AEW matches. We're not good at it at all. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up here?
I just want to say, at least we consistently acknowledge that we might be wrong, and if we are wrong, whatever they do, we're probably going to be really happy with.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter. Anybody except for the battle royale. There's some people in the battle royale I just don't want to win, but for the rest of these matches, either way is fine with me.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on YouTube and Twitch, so you can follow the links in the show notes for those. Join the chat as Jay and Davis did with us tonight. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, you can send those to eric@thatswrestling.com. You can also send those to me over on the Twitter @thatswrestling1 with the number 1. You can follow Trae @wrestleism over on the Twitter. And we will be back on Monday for AEW coverage and probably, hopefully, New Japan coverage. If not, on Tuesday for New Japan coverage with the MetLife Dome shows. I am halfway through the first one that aired today, so at least I'm not falling behind.
I watched it live, and I'll... luckily, the one tonight, I think, starts at 12:30 a.m. my time, so that will be an easier watch than last night.
Yeah, that'll be 1 a.m. for me, and I gotta go in and do some work tomorrow, so I cannot watch it live. All right, so thanks everybody for tuning in. For Trae, my name is Eric. You've been watching and listening to That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.
Bye.